Today's presentation, the whole tendering process became easier for SMEs, small to medium enterprises, following the adoption of the Procurement Act 2023. What does this mean for you? Since the 24th of Feb 2025, just over a year ago, councils, local authorities, public sector all had to produce ways of tendering that made it a lot simpler, clearer and easier for SMEs. There's a lot more transparency of the contract lifestyle. You can see who's won the tender, you can see the various stages. And one other difference is all suppliers must register on the central digital platform and complete a share code in order to tender. More about this later. What should be noted is, though, that NHS procurement is handled slightly differently and outside of this, although you may from time to time see NHS procurement offers on these contract websites. Here is a link to the new Act, should you wish to read about it yourself. Let's look at some useful links throughout the UK as to how you can find tenders. The biggest one is www.gov.uk/contract finders, predominantly for England, and it allows you to find smaller contracts. You don't have to register to search and find opportunities. You can find out about what's coming up in the future, and you can look up details of previous tenders and awards. In order to find similar size tenders, there are different websites to search for Wales and Scotland and Northern Ireland. All of these tender sites I have given you the links for, and they will be available afterwards. The UK high value tenders can be found at www.gov.uk/find tender. And here you can search and apply for high value contracts in the UK. These tend to be over and above 139,000, including VAT. So you've done your searching and you found opportunities. You now need to understand what type of contracts are being offered under these opportunities. Here's 6 of the most common. Number 1 is a framework agreement, whereby you read about the opportunity and the expectations. You fill in details about your company and about your offerings, and you are awarded a place on the framework agreement, which opens up further opportunities. The second is known as a DPS, or Dynamic Purchasing System. Many suppliers can be listed on this. Sometimes there's a limit, but it'll often be a high number, i.e. 100. Again, like the framework agreement, you fill in all the details about your company. You show that you're compliant by answering questions. You may provide some policies and answer a few questions. Once approved, you get access to opportunities. Number 3 is an open tender or one-off contract, whereby you apply. You may have to state lots of information about your company, as you do with 1 and 2, but you will also state lots of information about that particular contract, how you will mobilise, and you'll give your pricing. Number 4 is a restricted 2-stage tender. This is where you get an invitation by email for where you've already registered, and it may be that only 2 or 3 get this opportunity and 1 or 2 proceed. This will take you to a final stage whereby you will quote and answer further questions. You have to be registered in order to receive this type of opportunity. Number 5 is a mini competition call-off. When you're registered on frameworks or DPSs, you may get emails with a timescale in which you can tender or give a price for a particular route or run. And number 6 is a direct award. This is where you've been registered and approved on a framework agreement or a DPS, and the local authority or buyer rings you up, offers you the contract at a price you both agree, and you get approved to do the contract. Let's look at how we would use findatender.com, the place where you can look for high value contracts. As already stated, anyone can search. However, if you log in, which means you create a one login, you can save searches, watch notices and get updates emailed. This is by far the preferred way. Let's take a look at our Northumberland County Council tender. We can press the green button to watch this notice if we've got a login. We can see that the date has been changed, and we can also see who is responsible and who we can contact. As we look further down, we see the link as to where we can apply. This one's Proactis, and that will take us through to the Proactis site. We can also learn a little bit about the tender. This one's a dynamic purchasing system. We'll learn more about that later, and we can look at a little bit about the background of the tender. So we can also look at the lots, the type of work that we'll be asked to do. It might be wheelchair, special educational needs, all the details are there. And what it also tells us is a little bit about how we can win the tender. This one, we're told, is not based just solely on price, but also on the ability to service and supply what is required. That means that we can write about how we will offer our service and a little bit about our experience. Now, there's often more than one lot, and sometimes we can apply for just one, sometimes we can apply for them all, or sometimes there's a limited number. But as we read through, we can see which ones we want to apply for and which ones are good for us. So having discovered that our tender is on Proactis, we can click on the link. Now, Proactis isn't the only place we may have to apply for tenders through. So all of these on the right hand side are places that we may have to register. You may have heard of some of them, you may not, but they're all worth registering on. So having clicked on the link, we now register our interest by pressing the orange button. Having registered on the tender site, we now get told how long we've got to do it, and we can look down and see all the documents that we need to read and fill in. The most important ones that we read are service specification and invitation to tender. It will there tell us which of these documents we need to fill in and which we need to return and submit. So now we're answering the questions. What do we need to provide? They all want similar: basic supplier details that match company's house, some financial information or confirmation we can provide it. Often they want policies. Then there's operational and technical questions, which often take a little bit of time and effort to answer with a maximum number of words. Driver and vehicle details sometimes. Then two new elements: social value and environmental impact, something about the IT and data, and then sometimes pricing. We then sign declarations and submit. So what do I recommend you do? Well, set up a master file, create a policy library, template answers for technical questions. You can often reuse these. Rely on your policies to answer these. Write a social value pledge and start a green plan. Common mistakes and what to avoid: leaving it too late, not diarising the dates in your diary, not reading the paperwork, the ITT and the specification, not using the maximum word count for your answers. If it says 500, use the 500. Forgetting to upload all the documents, and yes, we've all done it, forgetting to press send. But do reach out. Cordic is here to help. What can Cordic help you with? Templates for your policies, template for carbon reduction plan, template for social value pledge, lots and lots of links and much more. Yes, Cordic is your trusted and transparent partner. So just returning to one last thing I mentioned at the beginning, the central digital platform. This is where you start. This is how you register, and this is a fact sheet link. If you haven't registered already, make sure you do it today, get a share code, and then start looking to tender. So thank you for listening. We've been through a lot on a whistle stop tour. This slideshow will be available for your references, and there is a link sheet that we will send out as always. Remember, Cordic is here to help and support. Email any questions or put in the chat and we will respond.